Well, hi, food friends. It's Kevin.
Hey there, Kevin. I'm Ralph over here behind the camera.
And welcome to Cavalcade of Food. And you know what? Now that we're in the cooler weather, we thought it would be nice to make some soup. And guess what I had in the freezer, Ralph?
A ham bone.
A ham bone, exactly.
Some undefined meat
Yeah,
thing.
it just looked like a big hunk of meat. If you ever do a ham, like for Easter or, you know, holidays or whatever, don't ever throw out that ham bone.
Because a lot of flavor in the meat and the marrow?
Absolutely, and great for soup. And a split pea, bean, even a vegetable kind of soup, all go great with ham. So, basically, look, we've got a ham bone, onion, I got some carrots, salt and pepper, and of course you can't have a bean soup without beans.
And what kind do you have there?
These are navy beans. And this is a 1 pound bag. And I'm going to just put them in here. And one thing, when you get beans,
you look for the magic ones to get the Jack and the Beanstalk action going.
That's right.
No, you look for the perfect ones.
Yeah, well, see, some of them are like this, and here's another thing that you'll find sometimes.
Grit and rocks.
Rocks, little pebbles and stones. And you know what? They do. They do it with, it's just from cultivating the beans, you know what I mean? And some of them don't get through the process, and so, yeah, you kind of just want to go through and make sure that if there's any of these little bad beans or little pebbles in there, that you get them out. And then, because when you're eating soup, you do not want to bite down on a pebble.
Little rock.
So what I'm going to do is then you give them a quick rinse in the colander. Okay.
So you can
get any dirt.
And you can soften these a couple of ways. You could probably soak them overnight.
Yes, you can.
I have made beans before.
So you can soak them overnight. Make sure they're covered with at least a couple inches of water. You can soak them overnight, or if you're in a hurry like we always are, you can do what you call a quick soak. So we're going to put our pound of beans in our pot. Okay. I've got some hot water here. I'm going to use probably about 2 cups or so of hot water. Okay.
Okay.
Now, we're going to bring that to a boil. Once, and it'll come to a boil pretty quickly because obviously the water is already hot. Once the water comes to a boil, I'm going to take the beans off the heat and let them sit covered for an hour. And that's a quick soak. Okay?
All right.
So, you know what? Soups are wonderful. A lot of people are intimidated about making soup because they think it's
more complicated.
It's not. Soup is simple. Most soup is simple. There are some complicated ones.
And soup is good food.
It is good food. And you know what? In cold weather, soup just warms the heart, the soul, the tummy, everything.
And there's nothing like homemade soup because, you know, you can make a lot of it and it'll keep in many ways in the fridge or the freezer through the cold months and cold weeks.
You can make a big amount of soup. It's actually harder to make a small amount of soup. The varieties of soup that you can make are endless. It's a great way to use up leftovers and things you have in the freezer or things you have in the pantry. You can also control, like a lot of canned soup has a lot of sodium in it, and maybe you don't want all that salt. You can certainly control that when you make your own soup. And again, we're using this leftover ham bone, and it's going to add a lot of flavor. And so we'll have soup tonight for dinner.
Making homemade navy bean ham bone soup here on Cavalcade of Food. We're going to go listen to some Mel Torme that
we love him.
Kevin picked up for 50 cents at the Salvation Army along with our favorite Detroiter, the late, great Marv Welch, great comedian. But we'll listen to that later as we eat our ham soup or our bean soup.
So, Ralph, it has been a little more than an hour, actually about an hour and 10 minutes. So there's our beans.
Look, they
see, they've plumped up.
And they boiled away the water?
There's a little water left, but what we're going to do is we are going to discard that water. We're going to rinse out the pot. Sometimes the beans leave a little bit of a kind of a funky little residue.
You mean like the kind of scummy
Yes.
stuff that rises to the top?
So we're going to rinse these beans off and get all that off of there. Now they're not totally soft at this point, but they have rehydrated, with the water. So we're going to put them back in our pot. Then on the burner, and we're going to bring this up. I got about 2 quarts of water here. So now we're going to really get into the soup, okay? So I'm going to put, I've got an onion that I diced up. That's going to go in. And a little bit of salt, a little pepper, okay? And of course, the ham bone. So take a look at that. Here we go. We're going to put our ham bone in there. And I think I'm going to add a little bit more water to that, Ralph, because I really want the ham bone covered. And this is going to simmer now for probably another 2 hours. I'm going to bring it up to a boil, and then we'll take it down to a simmer, okay?
So we let the beans quick boil for about an hour because we didn't do overnight, so this was a quick way to soften them.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're actually covering the ham, making sure the ham bone's covered and enough water is in there so that it's going to boil or cook for another, how long did you say?
Probably a couple hours.
Couple hours, okay.
So let's bring it up to a boil, and then we'll take it down to a simmer.
And then add the carrots?
And then, yeah, probably, see the carrots, if we put them in now, they'll be so soft they'll turn to mush for the final soup. And we don't want that. We want the carrots to still have a little bit of a bite.
So you put those in last?
We'll put those in last, like in the last half hour or so that the soup's cooking. And then also, too, we want the ham to sort of release its flavor. And then what we'll do is we'll check for seasonings.
Okay. And the soup that you're making is a navy bean. I've had it Greek style where I think they add some types of mint or dill.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly, but I've improvised, and you can, folks at home can kind of do the same. But I think you want that, that basic bean flavor, and I think I've seen them also add tomato, if I'm not mistaken. But
yes, sometimes I've had bean soup with tomato in it. And like you said, if you wanted to do it more of a Mediterranean style, you could put some mint in here, maybe a little oregano. You could also put a couple of bay leaves in here.
That's always really good for soup.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll have to see. I don't know if I have any. If we do, we'll throw them in there.
Yeah, bay leaves are always good for soup. And so this will cook for a couple of hours, and then we'll add the
carrots.
And
then you know what? It's soup.
Soup is on. So it's a basic, simple, homemade navy bean ham soup.
That's it. And like I said, we'll keep an eye on this and simmer it for a couple of hours, and then all the flavors of that ham and ham bone will just release right into the stock. It'll be great. Okay, Ralph, we've been simmering now for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's dark outside, and the house smells, the cottage smells wonderful.
Look what's happening to our ham bone here.
So does the meat fall off, and then do you take the bone out, or do you leave it in?
It won't quite fall off, but it's gotten very tender.
It's flavored up the soup.
It is. I'm going to leave it in. I mean, we got probably another good half hour to go. But carrots.
Time to add
the
carrots.
So I had a couple big carrots. I chopped them up. We're going to put those in there and let those cook till they're tender. And then what I'll do, Ralph, is we'll take this bone out and we'll pick the meat off of it.
Okay.
And then put the meat back into the soup.
Okay. Or if you leave it in long enough, it'll probably dissolve into it. I've done that. But yeah, we're all about saving time on this particular night in this recipe. That's why we didn't soak the beans overnight, and we quick boiled them or quick soaked them.
Mm-hmm. And
you're gonna taste test it already.
Well,
time for
the
seasoning.
beans are nice and soft.
But you, it doesn't look like the water's kind of gravy thick enough like it's supposed to get, right?
Well, because sometimes you mash up some of the beans.
Okay, so
and that adds a thickening to it. So I'm going to wait a little bit longer for that, and I might put another pinch of salt in there.
Okay.
I didn't want to do too much salt too early because there's a lot of salt in the ham. But I think I'll put a pinch of salt in here. There we go. And again,
towards the end is when you can start seasoning more, because if you season too early, you kind of cook away the flavors and the seasoning. So this is an important early step, or when you're first creating the soup, you want to just get the basic flavors of the ham and the beans, right? The onion. And that's what's smelling so good.
And that is what's smelling so good. So you know what?
Great aroma.
Put it back, let it do its thing, and we'll be back when it's time for some soup. Okay.
Look at that.
It's cooked another 35-40 minutes with the carrots, and they're nice and soft.
See, you added a bay leaf.
Yeah, I put a couple bay leaves in there, and I also see the bits of ham.
You separated from the bone.
Okay. I scraped the meat off the bone, and then what I also did, Ralph, is I took a couple spoonfuls of just the bean mixture, and I put them on a plate. And I took my potato masher, mashed the beans up, and then put them back in the soup.
And that creates almost like a bean paste.
Exactly, and sort of serves as a little thickener.
Thickens it up. And then you added a little more salt or a little more seasonings, I believe.
I did. So
it's always seasoned to taste, and
look at that.
Looks
How
delicious.
beautiful is that?
And if you wanted to, you could add like a bit of fresh parsley or something, or dill, or
any of that would be good. Any kind of fresh herbs. So there it is. You have some nice ham, carrots. The onions have all but dissolved into the soup.
That also creates a thickener. Can't believe you're gonna try it. Aren't you gonna burn your mouth?
It's hot. It's good.
Good for a cold fall night. Autumn.
You want a little sip?
No, I think I'm not ready to burn my mouth.
But it's delicious.
Sure smells good. I can't wait to
try
you know
what? Because we'll be eating it for a couple of days, so it's even better the next day. So you know what? Making soup. It's easy. It's fun. It's a great way to use leftovers. It's economical, and it's perfect for this time of year.
It'll warm your bones.
It sure will. It'll warm your soul as well. So, anyways, here it is. Navy bean soup with ham. Thanks for being a part of this one. Hope you had a good time. I know we sure did.
There's always room for you at our table.
That's right.
Cavalcade of Food.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.